Boxing is fake. Boxing sucks. How did we get there? How did this happen? It's not just that this happened. I'm talking about Francis Ngannou, who had never done this, but wanted to. He'll tell anyone that'll listen that was his real dream. Tell people even when he's in MMA that was his real dream. That's what he wanted to do, but the opportunity came in MMA. Wanted to or not, he never did it. And people were very quick to say, well, sure he did. Yeah, he did. He did it every day. He was in there every day. Well, do you know where he trains? I mean, before you say that, do you know where he trains? Trains at Extreme Couture. Do you know any boxers that come out of Extreme Couture? And I'll even accept amateurs. If you know any boxer, amateur, child, adult, senior citizen, whatever you got, do you know any boxers that came out of that gym? And the answer is no. I'd say, well, do you know who his head trainer is? You say, he's got the best head trainer. My God, he's got Eric Nixick, the coach of the year. That's true. The MMA coach of the year. That's true. He's got Dewey Cooper, who just might be a genius. By the way, this guy's a motivational wizard, Dewey Cooper. Finally getting his credit. I'm so happy to see that. Loves striking. Understands it so well. Do you know the corner of a boxer, and I'll accept amateurs, that Dewey Cooper has ran? No, you don't. So I hear people say, right, I'm combining two fights. I mean, this is devastatingly difficult to see happen for a guy in my shoes. I love boxing. That is my second favorite sport. I had dreams of being a boxer. I used to walk around the house, and I'd have black shorts on, I'd have the black socks, I'd pretend that they were boxing shoes. I didn't even know where to get boxing. I'd pull my black socks up, and I'd take a towel, I'd cut a hole in. My mom would be furious, but that's what Mike Tyson walked to the ring in. Mike Tyson never wore a robe. Stuck his head through a cut towel. That's how he walked to the ring. Wore black shirt and trunks, and and I'd walk around the house, and I'd tell my mom, I'm going to get you a house, I'm going to buy you a house, I'd be shadow boxing, didn't even know what I was doing. I never did that with an MMA fighter. MMA wasn't even a thing at that time. I'm just sharing for you. It's very difficult for me to see that sport isn't real. It's very hard. I believed it was. I believed it was a sweet science. I believed it was an actual science. He goes here, and you come here, and you go here, but if you do that, and he steps out here, and if you're fighting a southpaw, you got to make sure your foot's inside. It can't go outside. If it goes outside, it's going to the liver. It stays inside, you go to the head. I believed all of these things. Footwork, feeling out, all of these things. And I'm not just confronted with a strange 30 minutes known as Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. I'm not just confronted with that. That fight and that 30 minutes represents this second fight and the second 30 minutes, where I have seen the greatest ever get beaten up by a guy who'd never done it. Floyd versus Conor represented that, of which people were very quick to say that wasn't the Floyd. And my favorite, of course, the size difference. I love that the boxing apologizers continue to say there was a size difference with Conor and Floyd. They weighed in the day before. I don't have to wonder. I don't have to wonder if these guys were 4 pounds apart. They weighed in the day before. Well, but there's rehydration in there. I'll concede it to you. I'll concede it all to you. You win. You win. There was a size difference. You win. The size difference, Conor and Floyd, whatever you want to do, it's 4 pounds a day before, but whatever you want to, however much you think Conor put on, would not equal the size difference that Fury had the advantage in over Francis. So whatever the boxing apologists want to do, I'm not looking to put boxing down. This is a sport I did every day of my life. I don't take a praise in this. This isn't a victory lap for MMA. This is very hard for me. But it was also something I was confident I would never go through. When mixed martial arts started under that term, they would call it no holds barred, and they would call it cage fighting. They wanted it known that you were going to mix the martial arts, not mix them into one complete athlete, You were going to take a taekwondo versus a judo and a boxer versus a wrestler. Just keep on. We're going to get the keto and kung fu in every which way that we can do it. And all the martial arts community, and it's not a very big community, but the whole community is going to come out. And the kung fu schools will sit here. And the aikido schools will sit over here. And the wrestling team will sit over here in the corner. There's this new thing, jiu-jitsu, and we're going to get a crowd over it. That's what they thought. And when it got revealed that aikido doesn't work, that kung fu doesn't work, that karate will get you hurt, that ninjutsu is not a real thing. Like when it got revealed that taekwondo, I mean, go right down the list. When it got revealed, these arts that many people worldwide had dedicated their life to don't work. Instead of that embracing and then them transferring and learning some grappling or learning some jiu-jitsu, instead of them doing that, the instructors who've been fooling and duping these students, right, this whole time, breaking boards and the boards, it's already been broken, it's glued together. The instructors that have been duping people from the beginning of time came in, they all told their students, they did it quick, they did it collectively, they did it quick. Hey, don't watch this, don't support this. And whatever you do, don't do this. Well, why? Why would I not do this? Because our skills, what I'm showing you, you'll kill somebody. You'll maim somebody. The things that we work here on this gym, do not ever use them. We as a karate institute, we can't even put our representatives in there. They'd have to hold back. The world can't have, and they believed it, right? They believed it. You keep the gyms going. You keep it going, you keep the scam going, you keep on cutting the boards, you keep on gluing them together. It was one of these really interesting things. But I looked at it and I was mind blown. I couldn't believe that they kept falling for it. I couldn't believe that the gym stayed open. The parents kept on taking the kids out. I couldn't believe these things. And now it's happened to me. Now I'm in that spot. I'm telling you, it hurt. It's a hard spot. What else am I wrong about? What else do I have wrong? Do I need to sell my Microsoft stock? Do I not? Did I make that prediction wrong? My kid's college fund. I mean, but really, you start to question these things. I was so sure that boxing was real. I was so sure that if you didn't start when you were in single digits, meaning 7, 8, 9 years old, forget it, it's not going to work. I was so sure that if you didn't try out and succeed at making an Olympic team prior to 22 years old, you'll never make an Olympic team. We haven't had Olympians over that age. Don't throw me an example or two. We see that that's from 14 to 19-year-olds. We see that. We see there's no 30-year-old that should ever pursue boxing, even if it's on an amateur level. He can't do it. I believed all of these things. And then I see an undersized 37-year-old who had never done it, who was coming off of an injury, beat up, the greatest heavyweight boxer I've ever seen. That's my opinion, right? It's one of those things where you always have opinions, but mine is Fury. Mine is damn sure not Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, 198 pounds in his prime. He's just too small, right? Fury, he'd just go crush him. Mine had always been Iron Mike Tyson. I think that Lennox Lewis had something special. I think Klitschko had something special. Fury beat Klitschko. I mean, right? For me, this is the guy. He's so big. He moves so well. He's got the heart. He's got the conditioning. He's a second-generation guy. He started as a little boy. He could throw combinations before he could recite the alphabet. These are all the things that I believed you had to be great. And then I see an injured 37-year-old who was provided an opportunity, who kept his same MMA coaches and kept preparing in an MMA gym. He didn't have all that much time. Nobody told him this was going to happen. Getting a deal done with the PFL and getting ready for MMA and healing a knee up. And they find out, hey, this is going to happen. They turn up the heat and they go into it was one of these situations. Do I not need to look for a second-generation guy? Do I not need to look for a great boxer? Do I not need to take my kid out of school and do all of these things that these boxers that went on to have success at the Olympic level, to have success at the amateur level, just to get a pro card, to go into 4-round fights, to 6-round fights, to 8-round fights, to eventually get to 10 and 12-round fights. Everything that's ever been done that I've ever believed in that you need to do. Do I just need to go find a big, strong athlete? Can he be injured? Can he be 37? Can he have no experience? Like, what is it that this happened? Oh, by the way, it's the second time. And I hope you tell me the first time was about size. I really hope you do. Because the second time, boxing got the size advantage. They also got the youth advantage. They also got the reach advantage. And then they got their guy beaten up. But I'm just trying to figure out why. Why and how? Are there other 30-something-year-olds that we could train and not even put them in the ring with Fury, not have them go 10 rounds and get $10 million and be featured and be all over the world? Can I just take them to the YMCA, but can I do them in 3 rounds and have them make an Olympic team? Can I take a 30-something-year-old and have him make an Olympic team? People love to say, well, Francis has been boxing his whole life. Well, yeah, it's fun for you to say. But you won't find any other element of martial arts that it works this way. Can you say he's been wrestling his whole life? Can you say he's been wrestling for the last 10 years that he's been doing MMA? Can you say that? Because you're trying to say that about boxing. Can you say it about wrestling? Because I'll answer that question for you. No. There's no scholarship anywhere, including a junior college, waiting for a guy with those skills. Could I go put him into Abu Dhabi? Think he can deal with Cyborg? You think he can deal with Craig Jones? Think he can deal with Gordon Ryan? Think he can deal with Nicky Rod? Is that what you're saying? You think he can deal with Vinny? Is that what you're saying? I'll certainly listen. There's no other element of it that it works. So before you tell me, well, he's not totally brand new to this, before you come and tell me that, he's not totally brand new to any of the other elements either. And you wouldn't begin to argue or lift a finger to argue and look like a fool that loses credibility to telling me that you could have the same result. But this isn't the first time, it's the second time. 2 for 2. The greatest ever got beaten up for 30 minutes by a guy who had never done it. Could you imagine? Could you imagine Francis and Conor? They did it when they were 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And they only had 3 or 4. And they went 1 and 2 or 2 and 1 or 3 and 0. It wouldn't really matter, but they at least had that in their background. Could you imagine? You'd still be stunned. They don't, though. They don't have that in their background. They have never done it. And they beat up the best ever. And it hurts. And it's a surprise. And the question starts to become how. The question starts to become why. Were they just great athletes? That certainly is part of it. And that's a part of it that you really have to understand. And it was another part of it that came out in 1993 when you use the examples of Taekwondo or karate, these styles that we believed in, that were taking over the gyms, that people would have, and we'd have a black belt, and that would mean something to society. They'd never been in a fight, but we knew, well, you shouldn't fight him, but this guy's got a black belt. These things that we believe. But then over time, we started to realize it really wasn't the art itself that was so bad. It was the preparation, and it was the people that went into it. You were going to go get a black belt in karate by the time you graduate high school. They don't offer that at the schools. So if you're choosing to do that in a gym somewhere, as opposed to going and getting recognized on the basketball court, on the tennis courts, on the wrestling mats, on the football field, right? It's a different kind of athlete. If you were good enough to have made it in those others, that's what you would have done. You went over here and you hit out in the room, and good for you. But what I'm sharing is when we start to find out that kata and training doesn't work, but the skills were pretty good. So take those skills with real athletes, put it in an actual gym where they can spar and test those skills against something other than the air. We did find out through guys, whether it was Machida or Wonderboy Thompson, hey, those skills are actually pretty effective when trained properly. And then you do have another question of the great boxers, the really great boxers that we had. Were they good athletes? Because the very few times that we see a good athlete go into boxing, he seems to do very well. Mayweather would be an example. Sugar Ray Leonard would be an example of guys that you watched at their timing, speed, their focus, their footwork, their dedication, that you could see had they applied that somewhere else, they would have also excelled there. But there was nowhere for Mayweather to go. There was nowhere for Sugar Ray to go. Wasn't tall enough for basketball. Wasn't big enough for football. There's no money in wrestling. It's one of those weird situations. You come over to heavyweights. I mean, I'll tell you, heavyweights had a lot of success. I'm not looking to give him a hard time, but the guy can't fight a lick, but he's a good athlete. It's Anthony Joshua. If there's any adversity or push and pull, he's out of there. But there seldomly is, because he's such a good, right? He's just such a special athlete. And that wasn't meant to be a knock on him. This is a reality where you do start to wonder, well, goddamn, how good would have the Klitschko's done on the gridiron? Could I put them in shoulder pads and make them linebackers somewhere? Yes or no? It's yes or no, because for sure I could do that with Francis Ngannou. I stood with Ray Lewis, if Ray, who's a world champion and a captain of the team that won the world championship, if Ray is anything, stud, fits the bill, right? And Ray Lewis was talking about Francis. He wasn't even trying to put him over. He just got asked a question, the answer. He said, man, that's a whole different animal. That's a quote. Ray said, I am used to the best of the best. Francis is a different animal. He caught him off guard. And they said, what do you think? He'd go in football? You think he could have been on your team when you won the Super Bowl? He said, any position you want to put him in. That's coming from a world and Super Bowl champion who was the captain of the team. He said, you put Francis in any position you want to. Do you believe you could do that with Fury? Do you believe when you look at the athleticism of Conor McGregor that would carry over into a number of other sports, real sports, by the way, real sports, that the junior high and the high schools and the colleges give scholarships for, real sports? Do you believe that Conor is more likely to be the starting position of the such and such team than Floyd, right? When you start to look at it, you go, okay, well, here is one difference. It's not necessarily that the sweet science sucks and isn't what we were told. It's also a matter of when we got to look at the best ever and we got to look how calculated they were and we got to look how successful they were. They didn't do it in multiple sports. They were fully focused. Now, perhaps we read that data wrong. Perhaps we thought, okay, but because that's what it takes. You've got to be fully focused. You've got to be a second generation guy. Your dad didn't need to work on reading with you. He needs to work on throwing jabs with you. This is what we believe. Don't brush your teeth. We'll put gold caps on them. Like, this is what we believed it took to be really good boxers someday. Maybe we've got it all wrong. Maybe it's something you could pick up part-time if you took really good athletes. And that's not a huge argument that you can make. There's not a lot of tremendous, we see it come over in MMA. We see people that used to play. I'll use Jamal Hill scholarship, right? Got his college paid for playing basketball. Number of guys from the NFL. It's one of those situations where it seems to attract a better class of athlete. I can't tell you that Francis deserved it more, is more dedicated, had more experience, is younger, has a longer reach, weighs more. I can't tell you anything that Francis was that I could quantifiably put in a category and check off greater and more than Fury, except he's a better athlete. So boxing might be fake. It might be heartbreaking and disappointing. And perhaps I dedicated a tremendous portion of my life and it was a waste of time. Perhaps I did. But perhaps we're looking at the data wrong. Perhaps it requires further review, a little bit more research, or perhaps it sucks.